But more than 1,000 people have now been killed in Israel and Gaza after a massive attack by Hamas militants that began at dawn on Saturday.
There are reports this morning that Israel has struck more than 500 Hamas targets in Gaza overnight, where 123,000 Palestinians are displaced.
President Biden has ordered extra military assistance for the Israelis, promising them rock-solid and unwavering support. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell has this report.
Explosions lighting up the night sky as Israeli missile defence shot down incoming Palestinian rockets. But not all. Homes in southern Israel were hit. And in Gaza, Israel has been striking back. The Israeli Prime Minister threatening mighty vengeance. The scale and complexity of Saturday's surprise attack is still becoming clear. Hamas released this footage of its armed men storming the main crossing for people from Gaza entering Israel. Israeli rescuers have been collecting hundreds of bodies.
It is by far the worst day in Israeli history. Never before have so many Israelis been killed by one single thing, let alone enemy activity on one day. And if you're Americans and want to compare this to something in American history, then this could be a 9/11 and a Pearl Harbor wrapped into one.
Hamas now says it's holding 100 Israeli hostages, like this 85-year-old grandmother, Yafa Adar, whisked away by militants in a golf cart. Yoni Asher is begging for the safe return of his wife and 2 small children after they were kidnapped by gunmen while visiting his in-laws.
I want to ask of Hamas, don't hurt them. Don't hurt little children, don't hurt women. If you want me instead, I'm willing to come.
Now in Gaza, most areas are without power after Israel stopped supplying electricity. There are shortages of food and water. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have fled their homes, many seeking shelter in UN schools. As Israel hits back, the international community has rushed to support its right to defend itself. But there have been warnings too about a growing humanitarian crisis.
Israel keeps saying the blockade and repeated assaults on Gaza are to destroy Hamas military capabilities and ensure security. Clearly and expectedly, its blockade and assaults accomplished neither.
And with Palestinians killed in clashes with Israeli soldiers in the occupied West Bank, there are new signs of the violence spreading. Yolande Knell, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's get the very latest now from our correspondent Anna Foster, who is in southern Israel for us. Morning, Anna. Just describe the situation where you are.
Morning, Sally. Well, even as you're talking to me now, we're hearing very loud explosions still in the sky here in Ashkelon in southern Israel. And as you were hearing there, it has been an intense night. We've had missile barrages coming across here from Gaza. And again, the Israeli Defense Forces have been striking targets there. This is one of the missiles that actually hit its target. Most of them are destroyed by Israel's Iron Dome defense system. But you can see here, this is a 2-story block of flats, and a missile from Gaza made a direct hit right into the center of them. You can see the children's bikes and toys on the floor. I've just been talking actually to a woman who lives just in that flat there, actually right above, and she was saying that her and her husband, when this happened, they were stuck inside. The door was jammed. They were trying desperately to get out, and she said they had to be rescued by firefighters. People who live in this area are used to missile attacks from Gaza, but really not the size and the scale that we've seen since Saturday morning, and certainly not the kind of infiltration with Hamas militants coming through the fence from Gaza, as we saw, paragliding into this part of southern Israel, coming in by sea and wreaking the havoc which you have seen over the last couple of days. And people here this morning, they are out, they are surveying the damage, and they're very much wondering what this means next for them.
Anna, thank you very much indeed. Well, our reporter Rushdie Abu Alouf is in Gaza this morning. Morning, Rushdie. Just talk us through the situation there and what the latest information is that you have over the last few hours?
Yeah, good morning. Just as we speak, a barrage of rockets were fired from Gaza. It's mainly Hamas sent message saying that it's in response to what they call Israeli massacres. In a statement, Hamas this morning said that Israel committed 11 massacres in Gaza, killing families and kids and children. We have been getting reports since last night about airstrike in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza and in Rafah, where civilian casualties were discovered under the rubble of those buildings. No statement yes or update from the health ministry about the number of the people killed overnight, but medical official in the main hospital in Gaza told the BBC about 40 people killed overnight, which last night was the heaviest, I think, for years. Israel carried out more than 500 airstrikes, targeting many places, buildings, houses, and one of the deadliest attack was in Shat refugee camp. It's the densely populated refugee camp within Gaza city. It's called the beach camp, and they destroyed a two-story mosque. It's a famous called the Western White Mosque. It's been destroyed by 5-6 airstrikes. Some of the buildings around the mosque were collapsed, and they are trying to rescue people from under the rubble. The situation is escalating in a very dramatic way last night and this morning. For the first time, we are hearing some gunfire near the Israeli border. About half an hour ago, we heard Israeli helicopter engaging in gun battle or in gun fighting near the Gaza border, which is about like 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers this way. In the third day, Gaza is still without electricity. 85% of the people they don't have electricity for 3 days. Most of the internet lines are down. The crossings that connect Gaza with the world is completely closed. Israel shut the main crossings, and there is no goods or medicine or fuel enter Gaza. No movement for people and goods since 3 days.
And Rushdie, we're also hearing, as you mentioned, their power supplies being cut. We're hearing there's a shortage of food and water too. What can people do to find food and water when the supply chain is currently blocked?
Well, there is two sources of power in Gaza. One is produced by the solar power station in Gaza, which they said they have fuel enough for another 48 hours. The main source of the power is lines coming from Israel, and Israel decided the first day of this operation to stop supplying Gaza with those powers. So now what is available is quite a small amount of electricity, and they are now being given to the hospitals to run the essential services and the water services. But for the ordinary people, they are unable to see electricity or internet for the last 3 days. Most of the people, about 85% of the people, are not having this. And because of the fighting, just looking down is the main street that lead to the downtown. The shops are completely closed. Schools, universities, businesses are shut for the third day, and most of the Gazans are staying indoors. Last night, it was really heavy fighting, heavy Israeli airstrikes, so it's hard also for the people to sleep with the terrifying sound of airstrikes and also terrifying sound of rockets being fired. Hamas last night also said that they have fired 100 rockets towards the city of Ashkelon. They said it's in response to the Israeli attacking civilian houses. And they said we will continue to retaliate for any more Israeli attacks on Gaza.
Rushdie, thank you very much indeed. That's Rushdie Abdu Alouf live for us in Gaza this morning.